it still surprises people today that hear the statistics. Campbell River itself produces less than 1% of what it consumes. And so tying that in with food security, we're very vulnerable in the event that there was a shutdown on the Inland Island Highway or there was snow blocked us off. That one year, several years back, we had a heavy snow production and there was food, the shelves were cleared within 3 days. And that was a strong indication of our insecurity when it comes to being able to be self-sufficient.
I mean, it's incredible the amount of effort that's been put into this by volunteers and all the donations we received was unbelievable. I mean, we started off with cedar logs, you know, at the Menzies log sort into dry sort and then off to a mill to be milled. But it was tremendous. I mean, that donation itself was probably worth at least $12,000.
You know, once I met a group of people that wanted to do something with this area, I happily joined in. I think it happened because of the Campbellton Neighborhood Association was very involved in this, and between that and a combination of the some of the right councillors in City Hall, and it all came together, and it's so exciting to see. Considering how late it started, I didn't think it would be this good, but the proof is in the pudding. There's the harvest. It's a beautiful crop. Nice to see in Campbellton.
Well, I think it's a great way of bringing everyone together, and I found that the Campbellton enterprise has been phenomenal. They've just got the businesses, they've got the residents, they've got everybody excited, and right now they have 22 plots that are used, and they're planning on building another 20, and so they can't get anything more but positive support and positive assurance.
I'm Acting Mayor Marlene Wright, and I welcome all of you here to the Haig Brown Festival. This is such an exciting time for all of us. We've been here since 1981, and so many of the people that are here, I noticed that they were volunteering at that time, so this is a growing event.
The next category is pesticide-free and urban agriculture. And I'm going to list off the other nominees after I present the award, but I would like to present the award this year to the Campbellton Neighborhood Association. So if I can have a member, some representatives come up for that. Fantastic. Thanks, John. Congratulations. Thank you. Come on, Brian, don't be shy. You can come up too. Okay. Fantastic. Okay, I'm going to talk to you a little bit about the project that Campbellton Neighborhood Association was awarded, or the award was based on. So this summer, the Campbellton Neighborhood Association built a community garden in what was an underutilized park for the benefit of the residents and their friends. As noted in the Gardener's Agreement, the benefits of a community garden go well beyond the pleasure of growing your own food. This garden will hopefully become a place to get to know your neighbor, meet new friends, all the while learning the ins and outs and the joys of gardening. The garden is organic with no synthetic fungicides, pesticides, or fertilizers. Campbellton Park was identified in 2014 on the city's food map as a potential location for a community garden. And it's a pleasure to see how quickly it has transformed to meet the objectives outlined in the city's agriculture plan. This policy is coming to life. And I just have to add a quick personal note that I was happy to help the group out by asking my employer Interfor for a donation of the yellow cedar logs that were used for the beds of the garden, which they happily gave. And thank you to Brian and John and the rest of the association. And I know there's many more community organizations that did help out with the gardens. So congratulations, and I wish you many more years of happy gardening. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much for the award. There's a few people, actually there's a long list of people that helped make the garden happen. Brian Shaw, he's the chair and he should be here, but he's dressed in his kilt thing today, so he thought I should do it. I'm the secretary. Another person who's not here deserves a lot of credit is Ross Sharp, who's a professional planner, and he dealt with the city. Keely Donaldson, who's doing the food here today, did a lot of work as well. And Stacy, thank you for the wood. That was a really, really key thing. Ron Kerr, Councillor Kerr, has done the gate for the garden. Thank you, Ron, for that. And Marlene Wright, who's relatively new on council, has been a very strong proponent of Campbellton Neighborhood Association and the garden too. So there's a lot of people, Terry, thank you too. A lot of people have helped make the community garden a good thing relatively quickly, and we're only half done. So we're looking for some sponsors for the second half too. So if you want to get your name somewhere in the credit, it's not too late. Thank you all.
Community gardening is a great idea because it brings people together in a very natural way. People who garden love being outdoors, love the exchange of ideas, love the social aspect of the whole thing. They get involved, and they get involved more in their community, and try to involve others, because if you're having fun, you want others to have fun too.
The sustainability program that the city has means more of these. This garden is important to them. It's important to our community for sense of community. Sustainability is all about being able to produce yourselves. Our garden here, we're not, this garden filled within 3 weeks of becoming available to the public. It's been our plan to expand the garden over to the left here to make it double the size. And I have no doubt that come springtime, it's going to do exactly that.
You know, Campbellton was the place in its day, and it's kind of gotten to be an older part of town, and it's gone downhill. And now with the Campbellton Neighborhood Association really boosting it, and the community garden is wonderful, awesome. It's bringing people together, and very, very positive for the future.
My role with Greenways is a board member. I've been an operations manager for 1 year. I filled in for maternity leave, and that was in 2012, and I've been sitting on their board for the last 2 years. A lot of what I see gardens being good for has so much to do with community. Obviously the agriculture and the sustainability, the food sources, but what I really like to see in the community gardens is the sense of community that comes around it, and the pride that people feel from growing their own food, and also from getting to know their neighbors, and being a part of something in a group. So that's the part that I get excited about.
One of the most important things about the garden is the sustainability education. There's other sustainability aspects as well relating to community relations. The more chances that local people have to interact with each other, the more likely they're going to be reducing crime and becoming more friendly, sharing materials, and generally just making a stronger community.
Well, I'm certainly always pleased when we have a patch of land that's not being used or is underused,
Yes.
and then we have a chance to bring it back to life. And of course, we're interested in creating more food, growing more food, and having a lot more local resilience in Campbell River. And I couldn't believe how quickly it came together. You know, the Stewardship Awards, we're here today to celebrate those. We have a nomination for the community garden. And I thought, well, I better go down there and take a look. You know, I don't know if I can select a group. The application's just come across my desk. I can't nominate or, you know, select somebody they haven't even done the work yet. And I went down there and the garden was completely done. It was so impressive. Yeah. Good job.
The Campbellton Community Garden is a perfect fit for moving forward with the city's food-related goals. As part of our sustainability plan, we as a community have identified local food initiatives as a high priority. The city has a target of having 10% of all food generated, or grown I should say, locally by 2031, and having community gardens in each neighborhood in Campbell River. And so having the new community garden in Campbellton certainly contributes towards this food-related goal, helps to build not only awareness as well as food growing capacity in the neighborhood and in the broader community. This image is a graphic rendering of the community vision for the future in Campbell River, and what it represents is a variety of values and goals that the community articulated during the development of our Sustainable Official Community Plan. You can see right here in the center at the core is local food. That's a key priority, and as part of that you see the farmers market and our agriculture plan being identified as priorities for the city when we look at the future in Campbell River.
Food security, food sustainability, a way to improve my standard of living and way of life by reducing my living costs. Right? The more produce I'm able to harvest from the garden, the less I have to spend in stores, which means I have more money for other things. I have a variety of things in my 3 beds. I've got tomatoes, peppers, basil, spinach, Swiss chard, broccoli, kale, red onions. I've recently planted winter leek. I've got some chives, thyme, bush beans, purple fava beans, and potatoes. The kale, beets, carrots, and broccoli and the winter leeks are all winter hardy, and I've been informed that I can probably harvest a lot of those things most of the year. The social aspect is very important as well, but it's also a learning opportunity as well, because I consider myself a novice gardener and there's still a lot I need to learn. So it provides me with an opportunity to learn more, and also it introduces me to people who have some of the same interests that I do.
Sustainability is to create an environment that in itself will be self-perpetuating. Our focus here is to create a community rather than just a place to pass through. We have to ensure that it perpetuates itself, and thus the plans that we make for it have to be created in such a way as to assure that that continues to happen. That's where sustainability is the key word. Our plan is developing our neighborhood, is placemaking. Yeah. We want our corner of the community to realize it is a corner of the community. It's just not an add-on to the rest of the community, to the real community. We have our own identity. And we're all of a sudden discovering that. Everybody living here. I'm looking forward to people taking pride in our neighborhood. And I think this is just one of the several pieces to the puzzle on making that happen.
The tide has turned, and we're becoming more and more sensitive to our role as providers of our own food. And I talked to Brian, and of course Brian is always, Brian Shaw, who is our chair, is always very enthusiastic about anything that is going to enhance our role in the Campbellton community. And from there, he contacted another planner who was working on our behalf as a volunteer for the Neighborhood Association, and his name was Ross Sharp, and he drew up a design for the garden and did the paperwork that's required through City Hall, etc. And in a very short time, with a couple of work parties, we actually have an amazing, really charming community garden. It's distinctive. It's called the Gumboot Garden because we've got gumboots that are being beautifully painted. They're stuffed with flowers. They're hung on the fence line. And it is a very welcoming, very beautiful spot in the community. It's something that everyone should be proud of.
really excited when we heard that the city was supporting a Think Local, Eat Local program. We had the chance to meet with a lot of the growers and hear their stories about how they envisioned Campbell River being a place for local food consumption, growing local, creating opportunities for social procurement where we could look at maybe purchasing local food for our local institutions. Such a strong vision about how our community could really prosper with local food production. And so we wanted to support that. And it really aligned well with our overall messaging around think what we have here first in our community before you look at consuming outside of the community. I think we've really raised people's awareness about what it means to be a grower in our community. I think we've raised awareness about the kinds of products we can grow in our community. I think it just starts slowly, but I feel the momentum is really growing.
We started this whole initiative back in, I think, April of this year, and amazingly we made it happen. The Interfor was really integral in terms of providing the logs that were at the Menzies dump. I'm kind of an Alberta guy, so I thought, what? Where's the pre-cut lumber, right? But no, they were logs, they were cedar logs, they were beautiful, they were sitting down in the water, and through Keeley, we were able to get those shipped up to the mill on Willis Road, White's Mill, working with Jesse, and he did a fantastic job. He created enough lumber for 22 or 24 4x20 boxes, and that's yellow cedar, right, Lance? I mean, yellow cedar is pretty rare. You don't see yellow cedar everywhere, and that's yellow cedar, and it's fantastic. But he did a great job. Charges a very small amount of money. If you ever need to have a lot of boards created of your logs, he's the guy to see down the Willis for sure. So we had a one-day event back in, I think it was in June, was it not?
Yeah.
Where we had about 50 or 60 people came out, and a lot of the people's names actually are on that sign, which will be, it's a work in progress. So we're going to be eventually erecting that sign and putting it up on it. That's the canopy of the sign that's beside it. So the sign would be put up and it'll be there on a permanent basis. And anyway, we had about 50 or so people, and there's a lot of folks that are here that were there that day. And we worked our tushes off, right? Dead from about, I don't know, 7:30 in the morning till about 4:30 in the afternoon. And we created that day, I think it was around 16 boxes we created.
Dave Donaldson with Dad's Homes, he
Yeah.
was part of that day for us.
Yes, we had the skid steer in here, and it was kind of like Group A versus Group B. And the other group that I thought was really, really important was Strategic. They brought about 12 of their players out, and they were all very, very handy people, and they really helped big time. They were the guys that actually cut the line for the water line, and although it was a little bit off plan, we still got it in.
It has character.
It's been very functional. So, but because my wife and I had come out the night before and kind of marked everything out, it kind of got it distorted a bit. But more or less, we ended up creating what we created. In the end, we were able to spend. We've got 22 plots here, and we've got some real ravenous gardeners amongst those 22. Like, if you look at the differences between the great gardens and the good gardens versus not so good gardens. I'm looking at Debbie.
Be nice.
It's like, okay, there's a learning curve involved in this gardening. You just don't throw the seeds in there and let it happen. So we're going to be working in the future to make sure that the soil's upgraded and that kind of thing. But, you know, and I have to thank the city. I mean, I worked very hard with the ladies down at the planning development department. We had a 23-page report that went to council. There wasn't anything that wasn't untouched. I mean, it was an incredibly long report, had the design there, and we were obligated to touch base with everybody in the immediate area, which we did. And not everybody was in favor of it. There were some people who were actually opposed to it, but the majority were sort of, you know, let's see it unfold. So, in my humble opinion anyway, it's been a tremendous success, and we are looking in 2016 for phase 2 to perhaps happen. And that'll be in this area here. We probably are going to shrink the area that we're looking at, but that swing set, for example, will be replaced and pushed over to the side of the playground equipment. It was our intent all along to make sure that that playground equipment and that swing set and an area to play was always retained. We had no ambitions whatsoever to take over the entire park at any time. So anyway, the sign, I think, reflects a lot of the key players in terms of financial contributions, and certainly all of the players who were there, everywhere from ShareCare. ShareCare provided a lot of the fencing and the posts and such. And they all played a role into creating what we've created here. So it's a tremendous learning curve. I mean, Brian Shaw's been instrumental in a lot of things. We built up from scratch with wood that we milled down at Jetson's Mill. And I mean, it's all right. I mean, it looks pretty good. And I know Debbie and I spent about 5 hours making the thing. So anyway, it's been a contribution of a lot of people. Ann Haslett, I think you probably all know her. She's been a key gardener. She was the first gal to actually take, I think, 3 plots. She was the first one to get gardening in here. So I think it's got a great future. And really, today is all about thanking you guys that came in and helped us make this happen.
Ross, who did the gate?
The gate is Mr. Ron Kerr. I mean, it's tremendous. Yeah, very creative guy. I didn't realize he was that creative, but he proved me wrong. He was very creative. Sorry. Anyway, yeah, he did a great job. And Debbie and Jeanette, basically the gumboot side of it. And if you haven't seen the dog down there, I can't believe that dog. Booty, it's called. They spent 3 days making that dog, which was, we initially wanted to put the dog up on the top of the roof, and then I thought maybe it lasts about 8 hours or 10 hours. So no, Booty's going to remain at the Sharp residence, I think, and shared with Jeanette.
So here the people have used a thick layer of straw over their beets, and this will keep the beets warm under the ground, so they'll be able to harvest them as the frost continues. And if it does warm up, they might even be able to eat some of these greens, keep eating them through the winter. So this is a really nice way that they've mulched. There's some carrots popping up here too to keep the carrots warm. So they'll probably be able to harvest carrots at Christmas time.